Here's how I traveled to Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, on a budget of 36,000 Kenya shillings. That is equivalent to 972,000 Ugandan shillings for 4 days and 3 nights. Please note that this cost is on the higher side because I did bungee jumping, which was the most expensive excursion of my trip, being charged at $100, which is roughly 13,000 Kenya shillings. So if you remove bungee jumping, which most people are scared to do anyway, from your budget, then you'll be left with a budget of 23,000 Kenya shillings. So back to the trip. First, I had to change money to the Ugandan currency and I got a rate of 27 shillings at the Busia border and I was instantly a millionaire. Since this was a budget travel, I boarded Trinity bus in Nairobi at 8 p.m. and I paid 3,000 Kenya shillings. We were on the road for 14 hours and I alighted on the way at Jinja. In Jinja, I looked for a small hotel where I could freshen up and store my luggage. I found this one that I paid 926 Kenya shillings for just a day. So after freshening up and having breakfast, I took a motorbike for 296 Kenya shillings to Baji, Uganda. Here I got to conquer my fears and I did bungee jumping, the most scariest but yet exciting thing I have ever done in my life. I was honestly so proud of myself. I paid $100 for this excursion. While my adrenaline was still high, I took a motorbike for 148 Kenya shillings to the source of River Nile. I took a boat ride that was charging 630 Kenya shillings per person to go see the actual source of the River Nile. The source is in Lake Victoria and it flows from Uganda all the way to Egypt. At this point, I had no intentions of spending the night in Jinja since I had finished my excursions for Jinja. So I took a motorbike for 74 Kenya shillings back to my hotel, picked my luggage and got into a public transport or matatu that they call taxi to Kampala and I paid 370 Kenya shillings. It took us 2 hours and 30 minutes from Jinja to Kampala. On arrival, I looked for a small hotel and I found this one for 1,185 Kenya shillings per night. I paid a total of 3,556 Kenya shillings for 3 nights. Day 2, I woke up, had breakfast and then hired a special taxi to take me to my excursions of the day within Kampala town. Our first stop was Kasubi Tombs. I paid an entry fee of 741 Kenya shillings. Kasubi means grass thatched in Buganda, and here is where the Buganda kingdom rulers are buried. From here, I went to Mengo Palace. I paid 370 Kenya shillings as entry fee. Mengo Palace is where the current king, Kabaka Ronald, holds his meetings. He does not reside here because of the atrocities and bloodshed that took place during the eras of Milton Obote and Idi Amin. I also got to see this armory that Idi Amin used as a torture chamber. Visiting Mengo Palace brought so much of my history classes in school to life. From here, I went to Namugongo to visit the Uganda Martyrs Museum. I paid an entry fee of 741 Kenya shillings. During the reign of King Kabaka Mwanga, he ordered these young men to be killed for their belief in God. The young men were beaten and dragged on their backs to the torture chamber. They were starved, some had their limbs chopped off, and eventually they were all burnt. Among them was a 14-year-old boy, the famous Saint Kizito. Visiting the Martyrs Museum as a Christian was so surreal and was the highlight of my trip to Uganda. It made me appreciate the freedom of worship we enjoy today. I went back to my hotel and called it a day. Day 3, I boarded a matatu, or what they call a taxi, for 185 Kenya shillings to Entebbe Zoo. I paid an entry fee of 1,852 Kenya shillings. At the zoo, I had a very close interaction with the different animals. I fed and played with giraffes as well as chimpanzees. I was extremely tired at this point and decided to call it a day. I took a matatu or taxi for 148 Kenya shillings back to Kampala. Day 4, I woke up and took a motorbike for 111 Kenya shillings to the bus park. I boarded a matatu, or what they call a taxi, for 185 Kenya shillings to Sesibwa Falls. I paid an entry fee of 370 Kenya shillings and got to enjoy the beautiful waterfalls. This was my last day in Uganda, and so I hurried back to Kampala town. I got into Trinity bus that charged me 3,700 Kenya shillings back to Nairobi. For all these days, I ate at local restaurants and food ranged from 150 to 500 Kenya shillings. Water was 20 to 55 Kenya shillings and soft drinks was 37 to 70 Kenya shillings. You can watch detailed videos of this trip on my YouTube channel, The Adventures of Marie. Follow for more budget travel content, and as always, remember to be kind to one another, love one another, and treasure every minute you spend with one another because tomorrow is never promised. Ciao!